Items by David Hartley. Lottie got home from the school run and found the envelope on the dining room table. It was Jack's handwriting on the front, neat like he'd been learning in class. Santa, Lapland, the North Pole. Lottie should have felt joy and lightness. It should have been a heartwarming moment for smiles and happy tears. And maybe there was a bit of that somewhere deep down. But on the surface, all she felt was sourness. Jack hadn't written the letter with her. He must have written it with Faye, and Faye hadn't mentioned it to Lottie, this wholesome and adorable thing, and so it was just one more little moment that Lottie hadn't been part of. So there was sourness, and bitterness, guilt, jealousy. That was Lottie's list. She picked it up, turned it over, turned it back, put it down. She had a million other things to do before she could face the contents. She dreaded to think what Faye had consented to. She could feel their savings draining already. A million things to do. Today was the day she'd set aside to finally sort out all the stuff that needed doing in this stupid old house. She'd written it all down in one long list, a tick box next to each item. Cellar door, fix latch. Bleach stinky corner. Tighten outdoor pipes. Seal drafty window. Rat traps in attic. Scrub off black mould. Break chair. This last was not something that Lottie shared with Faye. The weird old chair by the back door that Faye uses when she's putting on or taking off her various running shoes was the only piece of furniture left behind by the previous owners. A wooden thing with a carved backrest and a brown leather seat cushion, all cracked and saggy. Lottie had called it junk as soon as she'd seen it, but Faye insisted it was good quality vintage, pledging to upcycle the thing and make it into a feature for the dining room. But nearly 12 months on, it was the same old chair. The sag deeper, the cracks longer, dust caked into the grooves of the carving. It would make this creaking sound whenever it was sat in, a kind of groan, almost a squeal. It was the sound that meant Faye was off out again to run off her stress, leaving Lottie behind with Jack. Or it was the sound of her returning, stress successfully run off, while Lottie's own had redoubled and settled as a headache. That sound should have filled her with love and tingliness. Those returns should have been moments for hugs and long kisses. But the sound of that chair would send shards into her belly, and all she would feel would be sourness. Sometimes she would hear it when she was just drifting off to sleep, summoned by the echo of its thin, splintering note, snapping her back awake. And she'd always have to check if Faye was still there in the bed beside her. And she always was, fast asleep. So today, when all else is done, the chair will break. An accident, she would say, the rotting wood finally giving way. And she would scoop it all up and take it to the tip before Faye got the chance to pick over its bones. Lunchtime. Hours of graft, and Lottie had only managed to tick 2 things off her list. Rat traps in attic, bleach stinky corner. She'd since heard 2 instances of scurrying feet, and now the kitchen smelled of stinky corner with a side of chemical lemon. She hadn't ticked fix latch yet, although she'd made a gallant attempt. She'd unscrewed and realigned the handle, she'd prized the catch to stick it out a little more, but none of it had made any difference. Mere minutes after she thought she was done, the thing clicked open again. She'd also stood in front of the drafty window with the sealant, but for the life of her she couldn't find any gap or hole, so she gave up on that too. So much for the day of sorting stuff out. She took herself back to Stinky Kitchen and made a mental list of what to eat for lunch. Lentil soup, cheese sandwich, 3-day-old leftover chickpea stew, chips, one of Faye's protein shakes, carrot sticks and hummus, toast. She should have felt a little twinge of thrill at this relative abundance of choice. She should have felt grateful and thankful. This should have felt well earned after such a long period of tight purse strings. But the options gave her heartburn, and the stench of bleach was not helping. She forced herself to put the soup in the pan, then she sat at the table and took up Jack's Santa letter. This was what was bothering her, she decided. She just needed to look. She opened the envelope. She took out the single folded sheet. She unfolded it. She read it. She read it again. And again. There was a brief Dear Santa note and then a list. She counted the items. 9 of them. She read them again, one by one. She folded the paper, she put it back in the envelope, put the envelope back on the table. She turned away, thought it through. She tried to recall the list like a little memory game. She got to 6 and then to 7, but the last 2 eluded her. She was almost too afraid to check, but she did, quickly, saw the ones she had forgotten, committed them to her memory, folded the paper, back into the envelope, back on the table. And then she scooped it up and put it in the cutlery drawer. She went back through them in her mind, the 9 items. She reached just one conclusion. Faye had not helped Jack to write that letter. He'd written it himself, last night, when he went to bed early. She recalled each item, again and again. The soup boiled over on the stove. Pivot. That's what her brain said. It was her only tactic in life. When things get too intense or too weird, pivot and do something else, something entirely unplanned. She abandoned her sort stuff out list, went upstairs and dug out the box of Christmas decorations from under the bed. She took it all down to the living room and put on cheesy Christmas tunes and a crackly log fire on the TV. They should have been doing this as a family, of course, on a joyful frosty Sunday, but maybe instead it could be a lovely surprise for Jack and Faye, a sort of quick-fire injection of seasonal spirit to clear away the late November gloom. She pinned up some tinsel and fluffed out the tree, but when it came time to untangle the lights, all her energy left her. She could feel the draft. The pipes were rattling again. The mould on the ceiling kept catching her eye, and she still hadn't destroyed that bloody chair. And the letter. Jack's letter. The 9 things on that list. They kept rolling around and around in her mind. She abandoned the lights and took up a notepad and pen. She'd make an alternative list. Things she was sure he'd actually want. Space-themed bedspread. Rubik's Cube. Terry's chocolate orange. Horrible history books. A cactus. Uno. Then she thought, a Switch? Something special and proper. She was sure they'd find one second-hand now, with a cheap Mario game. Would Jack like that? Was he into that kind of thing? She added it anyway. Switch with Mario game. She should have felt pleasure and excitement then. She should have felt the warm spirit of Christmas washing through her like whiskey by the fire. She should have been transported back to her childhood, the year she got the Tamagotchi that she kept alive for a decade. But in that half-decorated room, holding that list of dated toys, next to footage of a fire long since burned out, all she felt was sourness, and hollowness, and helplessness. And soon enough, it was time to go pick up Jack from school. Stockport Road seemed even busier than usual, everyone avoiding the late autumn rains. The 192 growled past, steamed up and stuffed full of soggy kids. Jack watched it all from the passenger window, extra quiet today. Lottie had started to worry that he was being bullied. For having 2 mums, maybe. But weren't kids pretty savvy about such things these days? She'd not yet plucked up the courage to ask. That was more Faye's thing. "How was school?" she said. "Good," he said. "We're doing Romans." "Oh, wow, cool. Like gladiators and bloodthirsty emperors. Well, we're sort of doing like senators and roads and bridges. Ah, okay. Still, important stuff. Yeah. You excited for Christmas, Jack? Yeah? I thought we could put up the decorations this evening, if you like. I've already made a bit of a start. Maybe, he said. At home, she gave him the carrot and hummus and he took it off to his room. She didn't ask about the list and she didn't look at it again. She had started to pretend that it didn't exist. She did the rounds again. The cellar door latch, the drafty window, the blooming blotches of mould. It was no use. They needed a carpenter, a plumber, a glazier, the works. Way beyond budget. She felt stupid thinking she could fix it all herself. She went to the chair instead. There was still time to break the thing before Faye got home. She picked it up and moved it into a bit more space. She wondered how best to do it to make it seem like an accident. She leaned on the arms, pushed the backrest. It creaked and groaned and seemed like it would give way without too much effort. She thought, one big sit. One big heavy sit and it would fall apart beneath her. Failing that, a hammer. She didn't overthink it. She turned and sat, throwing all her weight into it, as if she'd been dropped from a height. The chair caught her, squealed, but stayed intact. She pushed and wriggled, but it held firm. She felt the solidity of it under her. It was very rare for her to sit in the thing, and yet it felt so familiar, so moulded to her shape. She went still. She thought about her family this time last year. A new start, the savings they'd poured out, Faye's stress runs, Jack never really adjusting, growing quiet. Lottie closed her eyes and leaned back. The Christmas list came to mind, the one she'd written and then thrown in the bin, and then Jack's list and those 9 items. She pictured him with them, all lined up on his bed, picking them up one by one, inspecting them, figuring out how they work. No explanation offered, just a little barricade of items, his and only his. Roads and bridges, she thought. Senators and solitude. The smell of the kitchen, the click of the latch. The pipes, the rats, the mould. The creak of the chair. A thud. A car door. Faye, home from work. Lottie blinked awake. She realised where she was sitting, what she was sitting in, and leapt up. She put the chair back in its place, then hurried to the kitchen, worried she was burning something, but she hadn't started cooking. She shook herself, tried to click into action. She regarded the congealed chickpea stew, the half bag of frozen chips. Screw it, she thought, and fetched the takeaway menus instead. Pizza from Chibas or Chinese from Golden Sea. She put them on the table, then she fetched Jack's letter from the drawer and returned it to its spot. Lists next to lists next to lists. Faye came in. "Evening," she said. She sat on the chair to take off her shoes. It creaked, but this time it sounded different. It sounded, to Lottie's ears, relieved. Lottie went to her wife. She stood her up, embraced her, and kissed her. "Well, hi," said Faye. "Takeaway tonight." "Oh, were we celebrating? Did you fix everything?" "Not quite," she said. And then, "This chair. Can we please get rid of it? I hate it. I've always hated it." "Well, this one? I can't stand the sight of it." "Okay," said Faye, a tad bewildered. "All right." "Yeah? Of course. Are you okay?" Lottie kissed her again, long and full. Faye smirked, went a little red. What's brought this on? Lottie didn't answer. She didn't really know. Faye stepped past her into the dining room, stopped at the table. "Oh, hello. What's this?" She picked up Jack's list. "Ah, cute. Did he do this in school?" No, said Lottie. You did it with him. No, said Lottie. He did it himself. Just read it, Faye. She unfolded it. She read it. She read it again. And again. What the hell is this? Lottie shook her head. Is this a joke? What is all this stuff? I don't know, said Lottie. I don't even know what half of this is. I mean... She read it again. She read it out loud. Have you asked him? No. Her face set. That look she would get, the starts of the stresses. She stalked down the hall and called his name. Jack, can you come down here a minute, please? Go easy on him, Lottie mumbled. I am. We just need to figure this out. Soft footsteps on the stairs, and then there he was, their little boy, their little, quiet, studious, thoughtful Jack. Never any trouble, but it was always so hard to get his interest and to keep it. It was always such a mystery what brought him joy. He saw that Faye was holding his list, and up came his defences, hands in pockets, gaze elsewhere. Lottie jumped in before Faye could start. Jack, my love, I sent your list to Santa this morning, but he wrote straight back, saying he was a bit confused. Is this right? Are these the things you really want? He looked down at the floor. We can't really, Faye began before correcting herself. Santa can't really get a lot of these things, Jack. He doesn't make this stuff in his, toy factory. Are there any toys that you want instead? I thought maybe a Switch or something like that. Really? Faye muttered. I think so, Lottie said. Jack? No response. Come on, Jack, mate. I don't even know what half of this stuff is. And some of it seems a bit grown up, a bit dangerous for kids, yeah? Jack huffed. He glanced up, then down again. He glanced at the chair, Lottie realised. He looked right at the chair. She felt something shift inside her. A shimmer, a rattle, a draft. She wasn't sure what. She tried to feel it, tried to see it. She felt... She made a list of possibilities. Peace? Calm? Satisfaction? Justice? Belonging? Tethered? Held? Trapped? Sour? Come on, Jack, said Faye. Look at me, please. You need to explain this now. It's not mine, he said. Okay, it's your writing. I wrote it down, he said, but it's not my list. Well, whose is it then? He sniffed. He looked at Lottie, his eyes big, apologetic. Or was that a look of understanding? Could he tell that she'd got it now, that she'd realised? Oliver's, he said. Oliver, said Faye. You mean Ollie Holden from your class? No. You mean Mr. Sykes, the music teacher? No. Do we know any other Ollies? Faye asked Lottie. It's not Ollie, she said. It's not Ollie, said Jack, almost at the same time. It's Oliver. The bleach had faded off now, and the old stench had returned. Lottie felt the draught caress her neck. She saw it slip past the cellar door, and somewhere in the mouldy walls a pipe shifted, made way. I don't get it, said Faye. Who the hell is Oliver? Oliver, said Lottie. Oliver, said Jack, and then he pointed.
Items was written and read by David Hartley, with music and production by Oscilloscope. The series editor is Richard V. Hirst. Ghosts at the Old Library is produced by Levenshulme Old Library. For more information, visit levenshulmeoldlibrary.org.uk.